During questions to the Housing Secretary in the House of Commons, Angela Rayner refuses to give a definition of Islamophobia to Reform MP Lee Anderson. Rayner slurs her words and, as always, manages to dodge answering basic questions. We will check this clip out, react and go over all of the latest British politics news, but first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for all things good and bad in Westminster. So, as stated in the intro, a slurring Angela Rayner refuses to answer a basic question and gets ridiculed for it in Parliament. Here is the clip.
The heart of the government's work to restore order and unity in all of our communities following the appalling disturbances we saw. And whilst we continue to make sure criminals are brought to swift justice, this vital work to strengthen the bond between government and communities, including our Muslim communities and those from many other faiths and backgrounds, is central to this government's mission to bring the whole country together.
Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could the Secretary of State please explain to me and the House what the government's definition of Islamophobia actually is?
So state.
Well, I say to the honourable member that a new definition must be given careful consideration so that it comprehensively reflects multiple perspectives and considers potential implications for different communities. And we're actively considering our approach to Islamophobia, including definitions, and we'll provide further updates on this in due course.
I mean, why does she always speak like she is having a cognitive crash? Let me know your thoughts on this clip in the comments. In other news, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has ruled out doing any deals with the Conservative Party and branded its leadership candidates as delusional. He said in an interview, "He wants me to retire." Jenrick says, "We want Farage to retire." Well, there's not a cat's chance in hell of that. Let me assure you, they're delusional. They think, let's get another leader, which, by the way, would be the 6th leader since 2016. Let's get a new leader, come out with some different policies, and somehow the public will all say, aren't they wonderful? We're going to come back to them. What they don't understand is it's rather like a relationship. If you keep letting the other side down, in the end, the relationship's broken. We've had manifesto promises in 2010, 2015, 2017, 2019, all of which have been broken, and there's now a big swathe of 2019 Conservative voters who actually despise them, who feel really betrayed by it. He added, "Unlike Mr. Jenrick and all the others, I've been utterly consistent for year after year in the principles and the things that I believe in. They genuinely think that Reform voters are coming back to the Conservatives, and they're not. And something really quite big, I think, is going on out there. I'm not doing any deals with the Conservatives. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. Their brand is broken for many years to come. And remember, think back to when William Hague became the opposition leader to Tony Blair. No one listened to what the Tories had to say for years, and we're back in that same kind of situation. They've made themselves irrelevant. Trust has gone, and so my message to them is, sorry guys, but Reform is here to stay. And interestingly, we're not even thinking about Conservative voters. We're thinking more about Labour voters. This is Robert Rayner Jenrick, or better known as Robert Generic, because he'd stood for precisely nothing for years, who suddenly has discovered this new inner core. Now, it may be genuine, but when people have overnight political conversions, I'm always slightly suspicious, and let's say he does win on a policy of leaving the ECHR, his parliamentary party will never ever support that. And that's their other problem. One of the reasons the brand is broken is they've spent the last 5 years fighting with each other rather than standing up and fighting for things in the country that matter. So no, they're split, they're divided, their brand is ruined. In other news, Nadine Dorries has launched a scathing attack on Kemi Badenoch and claimed that she has no right to be the next Prime Minister. When asked who she was backing in the Tory leadership battle, the former MP stated, "All 3 men have integrity," the one glaring omission being the only woman in the race, Badenoch. Speaking in an interview, Dorries said, "I think both James Cleverly, Robert Jenrick, Tom Tugendhat, all 3 individuals behaved with integrity during the last government. They didn't try to undermine any Prime Minister they served under. They always acted with professionalism, and I think any one of those three candidates has already proved themselves to be the kind of person who would put the party first before self-interest. And so, I'd be happy with any one of those. She added, Kemi Badenoch did plot. Look at the people that are supporting Kemi Badenoch today. Who are they? They're the same people who were the plotters against Boris Johnson and who supported Rishi Sunak. I think that if you can't serve a Prime Minister loyally when you're in cabinet or in government, then you don't automatically have the right to be elected as a Prime Minister in the future. Loyalty is very important. It's the number one quality that any candidate should have as far as I'm concerned. The ally of Boris Johnson also discussed her second book that is a follow-on from her book The Plot, which claims Johnson was ousted by his own cabinet. The book is due to be released after the leadership vote and will contain a lot of new information, according to Dorries. She said, So much continued to happen and I was given so much information. I did not want to write this book, but I was in a position where I had so much information I just had to do it. And some of it I think people perhaps should know before they decide on who the leader is. But I didn't think that was fair to the party. So the book comes out on the 21st of November. In other news, nearly 60 criminals let out early in Scotland under an emergency release programme have already reoffended and have been jailed again. Some 477 inmates were released over the summer to tackle overcrowding, but 57 have committed crimes again and are back behind bars, with Scottish First Minister John Swinney admitting the scheme had not solved the situation. The decision was made amid a surge in prison population numbers, which Scottish Justice Secretary Angela Constance said had left the country's jails at critical risk. Those let out had been so under stringent terms. Only inmates serving sub-4-year sentences who had 180 or fewer days left to serve were considered for release. Inmates on life sentences or locked up for sexual, domestic abuse or terror-based offences had been automatically excluded from the scheme, and prison governors were able to veto the release of any offenders deemed an immediate risk to specific individuals or groups. In September, Swinney had told the Scottish Parliament, "We still face a serious situation, and I fully expect the Justice Secretary to have to come back to Parliament to brief Parliament about the current situation. Because although the release of 477 prisoners during June and July as part of the early release scheme has helped, it has not solved the situation. I suspect that will come back to Parliament in due course, and we are considering the options that are available there." A Scottish Prison Service, SPS, spokesman said, "We have been open and transparent throughout, publishing the number of individuals released at each stage, followed by a series of breakdowns. The latest publication on returns to custody continues this approach." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time.